Welcome to another episode of They've Got Now. I'm really excited to be joined today by one of my favorite hoopers in the Ivy League. That's 2022 New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year, 2023 Ivy Rookie of the Year, and second team All Ivy this year, as well as upcoming team captain for the 2025 season, Madison St. Rose from over at Princeton. Madison, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I didn't stutter at all through the accolades, and there are a lot of them, so I feel good about that. But yeah, no, it's other than the fact that it's like raining like crazy in Ohio today, we're chilling. But how are things on your end?
Everything's good. I was just in Philly a bit for the summer, but now I'm back home, so I'm really happy about that. Get to spend the last month of my summer just with my family and kind of just seeing my friends. So it's great.
Awesome. No, I love that. What was in Philly?
I was working at an internship. I had an internship, sorry, and I was working with a nonprofit organization.
Nice. What were you doing?
Yeah, I was working with Live Like Blaine, which is basically like a organization where they try to want to like empower young women to become future leaders and they're like student athletes. So I felt like that was really nice for me to kind of do the back end of it, which is basically just like working in operations, working in marketing with social media. But then also I got to kind of go to one of the programs and just see like the impact on like what we're doing with the for the girls and everything. So it was nice to kind of get both ends of the work opportunity. Yeah.
No, that's dope. What do you kind of take away from that? Because I know, like, especially, I'm a couple years older than you, but having like similar things, it's like, you're just kind of trying to figure out what's what and see things. So, what do you kind of take away from it?
Just being like my first kind of job opportunity, the takeaway would be, just keep working hard. I feel like I've gotten a lot of my motivation and my drive from basketball, at least like just learning about how to show up on time, how to be consistent, always have good energy, even on like some days when I feel pretty tired. So yeah, I learned a lot of work experience and I was just really excited to see what kind of like what nonprofits do and like kind of the impact on what they have and like their mission and everything. So
No, I love that. That's dope to get that experience. I want to ask too, because you mentioned now that you're back home in Jersey. I know you're hosting your own camp just about a month from now. How excited are you for that? How'd that kind of come together? And what are you hoping to do with it?
yeah, I'm really excited. My high school coach kind of gave me the opportunity to run a camp at SJV, which is really nice. I'm super excited because I just like always wanted to kind of give back to younger girls because I've always been like inspired by different role models, and whenever I saw them, it was kind of just like wow. Even if it was like my senior when I was a freshman, and I just kind of got to like see them and work out with them, I always just wanted to like learn. So it was kind of nice for me to kind of share my college experience and just the skills that I have to potentially share with other athletes that are like interested in my game and like kind of are inspired by me. So,
No, that's awesome. Who was there anybody who kind of was like that for you when you were a young hooper coming up in Jersey?
yes, her name is Madison Doring, and she played at American University. She was kind of my big role model. I mean, I played at St. Sanders, was like a Catholic school, and she was a lot older than me. And I kind of always wanted to model my game after her, but then also like she was always just so um, kind of just like inspirational for me and always motivated me. And she also went to St. John Vianney too. So I was like, oh my gosh, like Maddie's at St. John Vianney now. And she wore number 22. And that's why I was number 22 in high school because of her. So yeah, she had left a big impact in my life. And I'm still keeping in touch with her like to this day and just seeing where her career is and seeing like if I'm kind of like interested in what she's doing, which I am, which is really cool. So,
That's awesome. What is she
yes.
into now?
So she's into like modeling and she wants to kind of work with like a modeling like firm or whatever. She's currently in school right now, but I'm also into modeling and I want to kind of be like a athlete model in that way. So kind of bringing my style into like fashion and just using my image. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
No, I love that. Um, obviously, like Jersey, just in general, is a hooper state. I think every Jersey hooper has their own kind of style. What would you say sets Jersey hoopers apart? especially in terms of like your come up through like AAU and everything. What was what defines a Jersey Hooper to you?
I would say Jersey Hoopers are very, very competitive. I mean, when I was in high school, we always had the Jersey Shore, which was really, really big, and our main like Jersey Shore conference. It was always like big rivals and big time players. And a lot of players happened to be going to D1, like right out of high school, and yeah, we always just kind of competed to have like that title for especially our team in high school. So it was very, very big, and we had a lot of big rivals. And it was also really funny because we would be training with the same girls that would be on our rival team. So yeah.
Absolutely. And you got lucky enough to team up with quite a few at St. John Vianney as well. Like, what was it like getting to watch Zoe Brooks kind of acclimate as a freshman this year? Because obviously you got to see her game up close and personal, but she really was a huge part of a team that went to the Final Four this year. So what was it like kind of watching her from afar?
Yeah, I mean, she played like how I would expect her to play. She's a really good player. Like when I played with her for 1 year, she did phenomenal things. She is a really good leader. Is very skilled and talented. Like I've played 1v1 against her many times, and her bag is like insane. The crazy move she pulls out sometimes shocks me. But yeah, I'm really proud of her, and the fact that she got to go all that way, just being a freshman and being a point guard too. So 9 times out of 10, she's like help running the plays and help kind of like leading her team in that way. Like I'm really proud of her, and I'm happy
Yeah.
to see her do big things. And she has so many years too to make a great impact there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of, you're doing big things yourself as well, obviously. Um, I want to start like, how did you end up at Princeton? Because if I remember, if I have this written down correctly, or I read it correctly, you are the highest rated recruit that ever went to Princeton. And I know, like, recruiting, as you know, like recruiting stuff isn't always whatever. Obviously, I think you have more than lived up to your ranking. Um, but what really drove you to Princeton? Because I know, like, not everybody who's a four-star athlete is looking at going Ivy League. Like I know you had offers from pretty much every power conference in the country. So what really sold you on going to Princeton and staying?
Yeah, so everyone kind of looks at Ivy League as, oh, only academic, and that can kind of be like scary at times because at first I wanted to play at a really big time, like power, like five basketball school because they just have a huge name and basketball is what I love to do. But once I got started to get recruited by Princeton, they kind of opened my eyes to the basketball side too. And Princeton is just as talented. Like they've been ranked many times, like, we were just ranked last year, and they have played many different, like we played UConn, we played, Oklahoma, we played Indiana, and we've all had really close games with them. So just from seeing, like, the history in the past and, like, all the other, like, really top competition that Princeton's played against and seeing, like, how well they were doing, I was just, like, really inspired to go to Princeton because, first of all, I'm getting a great education, and then I'm also playing with really good basketball girls, playing top competition, and making it to March Madness, which is like a big dream of mine. So everything is just kind of playing out the way I wanted to, and I'm really happy that I made my decision.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Mm.
And if I remember correctly too, you took a data science course this year or last year. How did you kind of balance that kind of, because I've done a little bit of data science and not for the faint of heart. So like how did you kind of how do you balance a Princeton course load with being, a D1 athlete?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's very tough at times, but the good thing about Princeton is that we kind of have a blocked out time and we just have practices, and that goes throughout the whole entire school. And our practices are from 4:45 to 7. So from that time, there's no classes at all. And I feel like that kind of keeps my schedule like aligned because I would have lifted in the morning, a couple of classes, and then I would have practice, and then I would just have my break at the end. So just kind of that consistency was really helpful. Also, Princeton has a lot of different types of resources that I relied on heavily to help me with just like anything that was on my mind. I just wanted to share and like get as much feedback as possible. Also, the professors are really helpful too. And they are always like, there's something called office hours. And I also went to them a lot just to talk to them. All the professors are extremely nice and they have also been very supportive with me and my like, sometimes struggles within the class. So yeah, the intro to data science was really challenging at times, but I had great amount of support from the professor. His name was Day Young, I think, and he also loves women's basketball too, which was pretty crazy because he would always have little shout outs within the classroom too. But yeah, he was really helpful. And then also just having teammates within the same class, like Caitlin Chen, she was in my class too. And I also knew a couple of her friends that were in that class. So we kind of did little study groups and yeah, just that kind of little the little things that I never thought I really needed when I was in high school, I definitely relied on in college.
No, that's dope. I think, yeah, that was one of my biggest struggles coming into school was like trying to figure out how you get access to that stuff or like even realizing that it's there. Because I think a lot of people don't
Mhm.
understand like you can get tutoring for free if as long as you know how to sign up. And it sounds like you look back and you're like, oh, that's so simple. But if you've never done it before, like it's totally different. It takes time. So what was like really big for you in acclimating right away and kind of getting used to being on that lifestyle? Because it's a very big change up.
It was definitely just me kind of making sure that I was on top of myself, constantly. I couldn't really slack off because if that was the case, then I might have been behind on my work. And if I was behind on my work, that means I might have to stay up later than I have to, which then affects with my sleep schedule, which then affects with my performance. So yeah, it was all just kind of like staying on top of myself, making sure I'm getting my work done early, making sure I'm getting a good amount of sleep, and then kind of just like I said, using those resources as much as possible when the times that I have breaks and that I kind of don't have anything to really do. That's when I really go out there and start doing a lot of my work to yeah, just kind of stay ahead of the game.
No, for sure. Yeah, getting ahead is I think probably the most important part of school, but also one of the hardest parts.
Hmm.
To transition a little bit too, like you mentioned in terms of coming to Princeton, what do you think sets the staff apart? Because I mean, obviously, back-to-back Ivy League champs. Now you can go back 3 years now, from even before when you were there. But what has really set Coach Berube apart for you and just the staff as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, outside of basketball, the staff is extremely nice. Like they are fairly young too, so they can relate to a lot of the stuff that I'm going through, that what the team is going through. They also all play basketball in college, so they know what it's like for players to have bad days and even good days too. So it's really easy just to go and talk to them about how I'm feeling because they're very open and you don't have to book any appointment to go talk to them. You kind of just walk up to their office, and if they're available, it's easy to have a nice chat with them, even if it's right before practice or after practice. They really do make time for me, which is really really nice because it's also really nice to just talk about them about life and not again about basketball because there's more to life about basketball too. So.
No, for sure. But I mean, continuing on the track with basketball too, like now that you've been able to, have a couple of months away from the game a little bit, or at least away from, the game at Princeton, uh, how do you kind of sit in what this year was for you guys? Because obviously it was an incredibly successful year. Like we mentioned, won the regular season and the conference championship. You made a lot of strides as a player as well. So, how do you kind of look back on this year and what it was?
Yeah, reflecting back to this year, I could just notice a huge amount of growth, both in the team and just me as a player. I mean, we've lost a lot of seniors, like five seniors going into my sophomore year. So the team dynamic definitely changed a bit, but we had six freshmen coming in and they worked their butts off and they were really gritty and they were really open to learning all the new plays and all the new terms that we use to kind of help us get going on the court. So I must say that, yeah, I just think that um, just yeah, just looking back at the season, it was just very kind of nice to see a lot of growth, a lot of change, but it was all positive. Like we still kept our kind of reputation of being number one in the Ivy League, which is really good, and just to see my personal growth as well as a player, and the confidence that has really grown in my game. And a lot of people just told me that too, like my coaches and just fans watching the game. It's just really it makes me really happy to kind of just see that and overall, just with the team and myself.
For sure. It's cool too because it feels like you're really kind of growing into being like a star, and I think we're going to see that even more this next year. But I think part of what makes it really exciting with you, and part of why I love your game so much, is it starts on the defensive end. Like That's why you started as a freshman because of what you bring on defense. And even, getting more confident and growing with the ball in your hands this year, I didn't feel like your defense fell off at all. And obviously, you're not going to play for Coach Berube if your defense falls off at all. Get stops or else. So what was that like for you? Number one, in terms of coming in as a freshman and getting used to that defense. Like obviously, I know you've played defense your whole career, but it's a culture at Princeton. So what was that like coming in, and kind of what was the biggest adjustment for you coming in?
Yeah, actually, like, going back into high school, like, SJV was also really big, and known for their defense. So, like, my coach, like, she did not care about offense. We did show defense every single
Yep.
practice. Sometimes it was really, really hard to get through, but, it was just looking back at, like, what she put me through, like, obviously for the better, has really helped prepare me for college because I kinda knew all the defensive rotations because it was similar to high school, and yeah, she kinda just gave me a little jump start into, like, what I was really good getting into in college, so I just kind of always had that defensive mindset of, getting stops first from high school and now to college. Now it's like a thing we wear a title we wear on our shirts, get stops, because, yeah, it's really important, like, even if our shots are off, like, because it just happens when we have bad shooting days, the only thing we can really control is defense and our effort, so I really try to put 100% on defense, kind of just keep my team into the game, keep myself, like, staying locked into the game, and yeah, just it's all motivation from the defensive end.
Yeah, no, it shows. What do you think is maybe the biggest thing you've grown into as a defender? Because I think again, one of the things that stands out about you is you're good in pretty much every aspect of it. Like you're obviously very good defending the ball, but I feel like you're good getting around screens. You don't get caught napping off the ball. What has been maybe the biggest growth that, or thing that you had to kind of figure out? Making that leap from high school to college.
Yeah, I would say the biggest, I guess, change for me was not taking any plays off, because even though there's times when I was, like, on help side and I wasn't in the correct spot, I was maybe a foot to the right or foot to the left and where I wasn't supposed to be, like, those slight steps from where I'm not supposed to be makes a huge difference, and once I learned that, like, I have to always put myself in the best position at all times, it also helps me kind of, like, um be more in a way to, like, kind of position myself for success, but then also to help my teammates too. If, like, something bad went wrong, I'm right there to kind of help them. So yeah, it's kind of just positioning myself and kind of setting myself for an advantage on defense that I kind of had to learn about throughout the past 2 seasons.
No, 100%. Especially this year, like your footwork is so good. I think like a lot of people can see like you're keeping somebody from getting into the paint, but a lot of it too is like obviously you're very quick laterally, but you
Mhm.
don't cross your feet up. You always have your feet in the right spot. You don't like waste any energy in terms of where you're supposed to be going, and it's a huge part of being really good and consistent on that end. Um, but I wanted to ask too, was there ever a challenge for you because you obviously increased your scoring load a lot this year? So was there kind of a challenge in like maintaining that defensive level, but also being like, hey, I'm pretty high in the pecking order on offense and keeping things moving?
Yeah, I definitely say there was a challenge just with my conditioning wise. I mean, defense was 100% effort at times, with an offense too. Like, I had to learn that I can't take plays off Ben either, and I had to always be ready to shoot, and I had to always be ready to kind of attack and just be on my toes constantly. And I feel like that is what I also learned from my freshman year going into my sophomore year, because I was so used to having the ball in my hands at high school, but in college, like, we have Caitlin Chen that's a really, really good point guard, and I would rather have her as a point guard and have me in the places where I can, like, on the wing, where I'm more versatile and where I can do more things, and that's just kind of my strength and when playing. And yeah, so I think that kind of just like me learning my new role on the team kind of made a big difference. And as soon as I learned that from freshman year, I try to practice everything that I've learned throughout the summer and kind of just gain that confidence into my sophomore year. And I feel like that kind of really showed when it came to offense and me being more confident in shooting and, like, attacking the basket, being strong and physical and just stuff like that.
No, absolutely. I feel like you got really good at coming off screens too, which is kind of like you hinted at, like it's a big part of your guys' offense. Like I don't
Mhm.
know if you guys did that at SJV, but did you guys run like a lot of stuff out of elbow and high post, or was that kind of new for you, kind of coming into that at Princeton?
Yeah, I mean, we ran chin, and I feel like
Oh,
chin
okay, that
is
helps.
yeah, in high school, yeah, Princeton also runs chin too, so I was very familiar with a lot of the offense that we were running. And yeah, in high school, we also kind of had a continuous ball screen action, but just being in college, like I had to be more physical and I had to protect the ball more. Like I didn't really realize how hard it was to kind of come off screens with the defensive pressure and with me trying to like keep them off while still keeping my dribble and like observing the floor at all times. Like it was just like the little things that I've never really paid attention to high school, then I had to really pay attention to college. So yeah, that was like the biggest like difference. Just like being strong with the ball, like being physical, like not letting anyone push me off the spot where I want to be.
No, that's such a great point because I think so often when people think of chin offense or just anything when you're coming off the ball, it's like, oh, well, you can just get open from. Like, no, you really have to set yourself up. Like, obviously, the
Mhm.
screener has to set you up too, but if you're not selling that you could cut 45 when you're coming off to get something off a DHO, then it's that much easier to deny what you're doing or to cut your path down. And it's like all those little things that you don't think about at first that are so key in opening yourself up. And again, like I feel like you really started to hit those things at a high level this year. Um, as you mentioned too, with how many seniors moved on this past year, obviously quite a few very important seniors moving on this year as well. Um, and you're going to be one of the oldest players on the team now. And you mentioned obviously having six freshmen. I assume that kind of fast tracks your growth as a vocal leader a little bit, having that many freshmen on the team, and you were just in their spot. But how have you kind of been working on that? Have you ever really been a vocal leader before, or is that something that you're kind of just getting a handle on for the first time?
Yeah, I would say I haven't been a vocal leader. Like this has kind of been a problem my freshman and sophomore year. My coaches always wants me to be louder and like use my voice. Like I was never a big yeller, so this was always
That's one of
kind
the
of like my
impression I got. Yeah.
yeah, so this was always kind of my tone of voice, but yeah, I'm really learning how to be more vocal, but also be myself and kind of represent my leadership skills and just my personality. Like, I'm not trying to be like Ellie Mitchell. Ellie Mitchell was a very, very big vocal leader, and she was a really, really good leader as well. Like, she had her many different qualities that aren't really necessarily me, but like I can always pull a lot of couple of things of like how she directed people and meant to be serious and meant to be kind of like just jokingly, but like being direct as well in that sense. So being more vocal is definitely something I'm going to be working on this year because since I'm a captain, I kind of have no choice.
Mhm.
My coaches are expecting that from me, and they told me that I should really be vocal because my teammates also do respect me and just my experience as well. And I respect them too. So I always want to give them the most like help I can get from just what I've been learning on the court from everybody else and just my experience.
No, I like that. That makes a ton of sense to me. Yeah, I feel like growing into that spot is different. It doesn't seem like it should be that big, but like sophomore to junior, like it's like, oh wow, you hit a certain point where you're like, wow, okay, I am one of the older ones now. Like this is kind of different. Um, how was first summer session for you guys?
Um, Well, we don't really have summer sessions. We
Oh
kind of
wait,
have the
that's
whole
right.
summer off. Yeah.
Okay.
So just having the summer is really fun. Kind of again just to kind of relax. Like I don't have to think about going back to school anytime soon. I mean, I went up to Princeton a couple of times to work camp. So it was really nice to see my coaches and just like see a couple of my teammates again and I did play pickup and I did practice the run test a bit, so I kind of felt like I was getting a good benefit out of it and just being back at Princeton. But yeah, it's just really nice to kind of just have the summer and just to work on my game and just kind of focus on myself. And yeah, because kind of most that's how I improved a lot in this on my freshman summer. So I kind of just want to do the same thing again.
No, for sure. I know you've been working with a skills trainer in the off season, Danny Cooper. What has
Mhm.
been the biggest thing that you have been, trying to iron out this summer, or what are the things that you're most hoping to take into next year?
Yeah, just consistency. I feel like consistency is a big part of what separated me from freshman to sophomore year. Like, I've always tried to challenge myself when it came to my drills, and set like goals that I have to reach, and if I don't make it, then I have to do it over and over again until I do. I mean, that helps me with my jump shot, but that also just helps me with my mental toughness. I mean, sometimes it can get really challenging, and because I'm just like, how many times do I have to keep shooting for me to make the shot? And it's clearly not going in. So I'm like, why should I just like give up? But it's just times like that when kind of just makes me better and stronger mentally, because then I'm just like in games, even though I might have missed like 10 shots, like I'm gonna keep shooting because I know that one of them are gonna go in, and I know it's gonna help my team. So yeah.
Definitely. In terms of
Mhm.
like learning consistency at the college level, I feel like for anyone I talk to, that's the biggest thing they talk about is like, finding consistency. Because I think, any player for the most part at D1 can go off any given night, but it's can you do it, every other night into every night and being consistent. So when you talk about like growing in that regard, like what are some of the things you try and work on and improve on to be able to be more consistent?
Mhm. I would say definitely ball handling, like, the little things like I kept talking about previously is extremely important, and I really took advantage of ball handling, when I was in high school. Like, I didn't really do it as much, but in college, like, I was like, "Wow," like, I have to keep my handles sharp at all times because the defensive pressures are always high. Layups, like, I started to just keep doing mic and drills, like, even though, again, like, I didn't really do that in high school, I see now that it's really important to just kind of stay consistent with the drills that I do every single day. Like I always do ball handling. I always work on my layups. I always do form shots before I even get to any threes. I always work on set shooting, then I work on like step in shooting, and then I work on my threes. And it's just like the little like building blocks that are kind of in like every aspect of my game. Like I always try to work on every single day. Like even though sometimes I'm like, wow, like, maybe I should skip a step, like, I really just, like, have learned that I can't do that. So
Yeah, no, for sure. A couple more things to close out real quick. Um, First, when you look at what next season can be for you guys, obviously you mentioned some personal growth stuff that you want to do, but what are you most excited about for this coming year? I know we're a little ways away, but it's under 100 days now, which is like kind of wild to think about. But what are you most looking forward to this coming season? What are some things you want to accomplish?
yeah, I'm really looking forward to our playing style this upcoming season because it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna try to have, like, a 4 guard lineup. Like, now we have tweeners, which is kind of like guards and posts, and they are another little group. So, we're gonna try to play fast, and we're gonna try to play fast but smart at the same time because last year we were fast, but I feel like we were also controlled and we had good pace, which is really nice. So, just bringing that into next season with but also with like having more guards on the court and then having a really really big post on the court too. I think it's going to really help open up the floor more, and that gives us more opportunities to just like drive and then also shoot. So I'm really excited about like how the coaches are going to prepare us, and I'm really excited just to see how well I'm going to gel with all my other teammates.
No, for sure, and I'm excited to see how you guys do that as well. But also in terms of like looking farther out too, what are like I know you mentioned maybe want to get into modeling someday, but especially with basketball and just things in general, what are things that if, when you're thinking a couple years ahead, what do you really want to do?
Yeah, I mean, well, for basketball, because I didn't answer your question before,
Okay.
that a personal goal for me would be to obviously be Ivy League Player of the Year. I mean, it's little steps for me. Like I've been Rookie of the Year. I made one of the second team. Like now, there's a really big goal that I can potentially get. So with my hard work and just playing with my team and my team trusting me, like I have a really big feeling that I could potentially be up there with a lot of other really good players in the Ivy League. And then also looking even further into my future, yeah, I definitely wanna kind of be a model. I think that's really cool, and I kinda wanna use my, name, image, and likeness to my advantage, and that's why I'm kind of running a camp. And then I also kinda wanna advertise and just, like, model in, like, different kinds of clothes because I always like to be stylish, and I like to have people style me and be fashionable, so that's really cool for me. I also wanna work with, like, potential WNBA teams or just NBA teams in general, like, even I don't know when my time will end when it comes to playing basketball. I do want to play overseas or even make it professionally. But if my time does come to an end, I still want to kind of be connected with like the basketball like route, and whether that be with like working with a basketball team, that would be really, really cool just behind the scenes. Um, yeah, that's kind of a big dream. So I never wanted basketball to kind of leave my life. So anyway, I can kind of incorporate it into my life, I will.
Yeah, no, I love that enthusiasm. And for what it's worth, I
Mhm.
think you definitely have a real shot to be a pro if you keep doing what you're doing. So excited for that for you. Very last question. Okay, so let's say somebody's going to Princeton for their first time to go see the Lady Tigers play. What do you recommend they do in like the hours leading up to a game? Like, what is like the food spot you have to hit? What are the things to do in Princeton? I know nothing about Princeton, so
Yeah, okay. So first you have to go to Nassau Street. Nassau Street, it has like all kinds of different restaurants, and you have to go to Taqueria. Taqueria is like the place to go. Like I go there all the time. My team goes there all the time. We get Taqueria for like post game meals. Like the food is amazing. And then you also have to go to Junbi because Junbi is kind of like a tea place with like this. Well, you can get regular tea, and then there's also boba tea, and I love bubble tea, so I always get there. And yeah, at the end of like sophomore year, I literally went to June B for like every day, like a week
yeah,
straight. So that place is like really, really good. But yeah, you can also kind of just go to Poe Fields. Poe Fields is like if you're on Nassau Street and you're kind of heading to the gym, you're gonna pass Poe Fields. And it's getting redone right now, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be open up for this upcoming year. And Poe Fields is just beautiful. It's literally just like land, and you can kind of just sit on the benches and just enjoy everything, taking all the beauty of Princeton and like the sun. Like I always used to just sit there and just listen to music and just think about life. So that's always a beautiful spot to go to.
yeah.
And
It
then,
sounds like a good time. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, and then that's about it. And then right after that, after you've sat there, ate your food, just walk right to the gym and come to one of our games. So
Absolutely. Well, to everyone listening, of course, keep up with everything Madison is doing. Keep up with all things Princeton. If you haven't already, be sure to go subscribe down below. Most importantly, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for listening.